Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought it would be time to kind of just chat about War Thunder in a general way and try and get people to play different nations. It's kind of weird because we had obviously the roadmap last year, right? And also we had the roadmap this year. And one of the things that was on the roadmap for last year was this idea of research bonuses for new nations for players with top tier vehicles of another nation. The idea that if you grind all the way through one of the nations until like specific vehicles, maybe a high tier MBT or an SPAA or something like that, what would end up happening is you would be able to get bonuses in order to research another nation. And this would promote you playing multiple nations. Something, at least for me, I think is very important when it comes to enjoying the game. Now, one of the problems with this is it never appeared. It just got delayed, and we haven't really heard of it since. It's just kind of gone to the wind and just disappeared from existence. No idea why. Maybe it'll come back, maybe they're rethinking it, and it's got me thinking, well, how to implement something which would work in this way, because it's an incredibly important thing to me. One of the things for War Thunder that I've done for many years is play pretty much all of the nations. And the reason to do this is because I think variety is the way that you keep the game interesting, right? Over the last week, I've spaded out the Vickers Mark 7. We've played a bit of China with its new additions. We've also played a bunch of Sweden with things like the good old STRF, the CV9030 Fin, the T55M, just to kind of keep it simple. And then stuff like the Magak Hydra, something that you won't find in any other tech tree. A standard Magak platform, but with access to M247s or whichever ones they are. And the idea is that's how I personally keep the game interesting, moving around different tech trees, trying different things, while also adding in the dailies, the specials, and also the other battle pass stuff like the challenges and things like the page of history. So whatever happens, you are constantly doing something new, you are constantly doing something different, and that makes it more interesting. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and just play the same tech tree, no matter how much time you actually put into the game, by the way. So you may be thinking, well, because I've got most of the tech trees researched, then I can afford playing different tech trees. But even if you only have 10-20 minutes a day or even less, you could literally still play one match in America, then one match in Germany, then one match in USSR, right? You don't have to be stuck to a certain nation to be able to get to top tier in whatever is classed as a reasonable amount of time. You can actually spread out and have a bit more fun across the place. But one of the things that's happened a lot over the last few weeks, again, and this comes in waves, at least from what I've seen, there is this idea of what's the quickest way to get to top tier? What is the easiest way to grind? What is the most efficient way of getting SL? How do I get more stuff quicker? And this just, as I said, it comes in droves, and I have no idea why, and it got me thinking once again about the fact that change on the roadmap just completely disappeared. The research bonuses for new nations for players with top tier vehicles of another nation. So I thought, here we go, let's just go through some ideas they could do for this type of setup. The first one would be a percentage off a similar vehicle in another tech tree. So, for example, just to give like the most basic bones example that exists, let's go for, I don't know, the Leopard 2A6, that's it, right? So, if you have researched the Leopard 2A6 in the German tech tree, maybe just, researched it, maybe not, spaded it or fully modified it, maybe if you are researching it in the Hungarian tech tree, which eventually it will be, or a different tech tree such as the Swedish tech tree where it is right now, maybe you could get a discount of researching it, and maybe a discount in its SL. Maybe instead of it being 400k, it could just be 350, or it could be 300. Therefore, incentivizing people to play different tech trees, even though you play the same vehicle. Because one of the things that's got my head in a tizzy is the fact that, as a player who played Sweden, I spaded out the STR V121. Then they added the Leopard 2A4, which is functionally the same vehicle, apart from this gets stock heat FS, and this doesn't. Then you have the Hungarian 2A4, which exists, which is exactly the same vehicle once again. Then you actually have the standard 2A4, which of course is for Germany. So in order to play these vehicles, you're basically just having the same experience over and over again, with the only thing that's actually changing is the lineup around it. Therefore, people are just going to gravitate to the one with the best lineup, because it actually feels good compared to the rest. Same with the T72M1, which is a copy of the T72A, which is in several tech trees now. When it comes to it, it's in the Swedish tech tree, it's in the German tech tree, it's obviously in the USSR tech tree, so why not give people incentives to be able to play these things? Maybe Shermans, or maybe M48s or M60s, you know, the M48 GA2, maybe you could just give a little bit of a discount on modifying it, you know, or maybe specific modifications. Maybe if you have unlocked something on the standard M48, which is over here, the M48A1, maybe such as like the Heat FS, which is kind of key for it to do damage, maybe you get a specific amount of rounds for it when you play an M48 in a separate tech tree, right? Such as the M48GA2, which is very similar to the standard one. Or, as I said, just standard little research reductions. So it means that you're not just sat on the same experience over and over again, and also gives people an incentive to play the same stuff again instead of just going through it. Another thing is just random nation boosters from Battle Pass or others. Like, you know, certain events, such as the Chinese event, which is going on right now. So what's interesting from the Battle Pass is you have, obviously, the vehicles, right? The vehicles turn up, such as the Flagstaff right here. One of the things that they added to the Battle Pass is this. It's a universal backup, but this one specifically is for the USA coastal vessels, so you can only use it for those, and therefore it is individual to that tech tree. Now, they've done a bunch of these over time. You can see here all from the different Battle Passes, so what you can actually end up doing is you can only use them for those specific areas, and it's there to promote you using the Battle Pass vehicles which are around, right? Like, that's the whole point of it. So you can kind of track which Battle Pass vehicles have been around and obviously use them for them. Why not have a system where you can get a random nation booster, or you can get a something from the Battle Pass for either that nation or specific nations? Imagine if for the USS Flagstaff, instead of just getting the universal backups, you also got, hey, so if you play the US coastal tree, you'll get a 30% RP increase for 20 battles. You know, using something like the booster system, but making it nation specific. What you could also do with this system, instead of just having it in the Battle Pass or other stuff like that, you could also do weekly boosts for different nations with that idea. You could start off with, hey, so Israel this week has a 5% or a 10% increase in RP that you can get, or a 5% increase in SL. And this would be a way of trying to promote people playing different tech trees instead of just playing the same stuff over and over and over again. Something which in very old War Thunder we kind of had, where each nation will get a ×2 kind of like a research booster every day, and then on the weekends a ×5. But what I'm saying is limit it to specific nations per week or per every few days to promote people moving between the nations. Because there are a ton of really cool vehicles in each nation, right? And very fun to generally play. But the amount of people who actually get access to these and play them is minimal, especially at the highest echelon of the game. The other thing they could also do with a system like this is a Pages of History style, but for nations. The Pages of History is really cool, because basically you can, in a way, get yourself a profile picture, learn about history in the form of battles, and also at the same time play different vehicles. Now, the problem with the Pages of History is a lot of battles use the same vehicles. So if you actually have a look at a lot of these, you know, you can obviously see the Iraqi stuff, but a lot of the Second World War stuff are usually 1944 to 1945, and they all use the same things. It's either Germany versus USSR, rank 3 and 4, or it's America and Britain versus Germany, rank 3 usually, and then sometimes Japanese stuff, and then sometimes naval, and sometimes some more modern stuff, such as the Iraq-Iran war that we have right now. But once again, they use exactly the same vehicles, and this is the problem with something like this, because there are only so many wars and only so many battles in history, and they usually focus around the same technology, so you'll see the same stuff over and over again. Like, for example, you will never see these in the pages of history, the SDA-3 and also the Type 61, and that kind of sucks. It would be nice if they actually did something like that, right? Now, instead, what if you had something which was linked to maybe the Italy Liberation Day or something like that? So for a week, you now get 5% or 10% increase in RPNSL playing Italy or playing Italian Navy or just playing a part of it because of this historical thing that's going on. It could be announced every Monday or every Sunday what the new nation's going to be, and it would promote people, playing that specific nation and push people towards it. I think in general this would be quite nice. They could even do it on a monthly basis. So basically 1 week, you get a percentage bonus to a certain nation, and then the next week you have another one, and then if you get so much mission score per week in each of the nations, maybe you can get a flag, or maybe you can get a decal, or maybe you can get something else. Because right now, if you didn't know, in War Thunder, we have a ton of flags that are just kind of sat here, which, don't really do too much. And some of them which only come back every so often. So maybe that's something that could be sorted out. And yeah, maybe you could just get something like that while generally playing the game to promote people playing different stuff. And they've constantly talked about the idea of adding more and more nations into the game, whether it's through subtrees or whether it's through other trees, and you could expand the idea to that. Imagine if they were like, okay, so for South Africa, it's, I don't know, South Africa Independence Day, or it's South Africa, leaving apartheid behind day, or whatever it is, right? Or uniform day, unification, whatever, the standard stuff that you see. So every vehicle that is labeled a South African vehicle, you now get a percentage bonus while researching with, and also for modifying. So instead of it just applying to different, total tech trees, you could do it for specific nations in specific tech trees. And I think in general, this would be great. It would mean you'd see so much more variety. Yes, it would screw with the matchmaking, but we already have constant events that are screwing with matchmaking all the time. So I think in general, I'm not really as worried about that. What I'm more worried about is people actually having fun in different vehicles. Instead of just playing the Bishma, which is a T90S, what if you, researched through the Bishma and, you unlocked it and maybe got it spaded. Then when you come across the T90A, which is in the Soviet tech tree, maybe what you end up getting is a 10% discount on the modifications as you're playing it. Just stuff like this. And unfortunately, the roadmap this year so far just completely forgot about this idea. And there isn't really anything to kind of tackle that. Instead, we're looking at social features and we're looking at general mechanics, but that idea has gone away. And I really think promoting people to play different parts of the game is the way forward for the game, and also for people's enjoyment. Because if you get stuck in a rut playing the same thing over and over again, it sucks and it's not very fun. And unfortunately, that happens to way too many people. Let me know your thoughts, and as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Tullio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pieman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Alan Hacker, Ozzy Panzer, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Cam Arslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.